I may not be able to recount all these experiences serially, according to dates and what have you, but as they come to my mind, I will have to tell the story. First and foremost was an experience I had when I was in primary school at the age of 14, and this was 1946. Suddenly one day, when my mother sent me to the market, whilst I was trying to, even before I started buying what she sent me to buy, I started having a nagging headache. The headache was so strong, I just could not even concentrate or be able to walk. This was in Calabar. So I looked for a shade where I sat and waited for the headache to subside. I didn't know I even slept off in this place. And by the time I woke up, most people had left the market. Everywhere seemed empty. I opened my eyes and I wondered what I was doing there. And I felt so thirsty that I walked to a tap, because those days we used to have, taps that were placed in certain corners and certain places for people to reach for water. I was so thirsty, I started to drink. I don't know how many gallons I would have had. After drinking, I picked up my bag with the money I had with me. As I turned round, I started throwing up. After throwing up, I felt relieved and a bit energized. So I started running home. I just didn't want to walk because I wanted to get home as quickly as I could. I started running home. Halfway to our house, I felt tired, very tired. So again, I looked for some shade tree, and I saw one, and I went and sat there. Then I slept off again. And this time for a very brief period. When I opened my eyes, I said, what is happening to me? And I took off and started running. I ran until I got to the house. As soon as I got to the house, the bag, the money, everything I threw away and ran into the sitting room and fell on the carpet. Before my mother could ask me what was happening, I slept off again. When she touched me, according to her, I had such high fever. So she sent a message to my dad, and then they looked for a taxi. And my dad was just coming. In fact, the taxi passed him by the roadside because they said I was so sick. They just had to rush me straight to the general hospital in Calabar. So they took me there. By the time they were taking me to the hospital, I didn't know where I was. I was not conscious at all. I thought my eyes were open, but all I was seeing was something like a big red sea. Red sea, everywhere was red. And then when we got to the hospital, I suppose I was admitted and all that, but I didn't know what was happening. It was on the third day from when I was taken to the hospital that I woke up. I had apparently been in a coma these 3 days. So I woke up on that third day, and there was a nurse sitting by my bed. And I said to the nurse, I'm very hungry, I'm very hungry. The nurse said, okay, what do I want to eat? I said, I just want Gary, just put Gary in water for me. So the nurse went and brought me Gary with a spoon, and I started scooping the Gary into my mouth. But after a little bit, even though I said to the nurse, I want a whole bowl of it because I'm very, very hungry, I think I took probably about 3 spoonfuls. And I said to her, I just couldn't anymore. So she took the thing away. Meanwhile, she had sent a message for the doctor to come. Then the doctor came, and one of my aunties, who was kept in the hospital by my parents to be watching out for me, also came in. And they started asking me how I felt and all that. And they took my pressure, and then the doctor was talking to me, telling me how I was brought to the hospital and so forth. And then my parents were sent for. They ran to the hospital to see me. Were very happy that I had woken up. So it was after that I heard the story that I had been in a coma for 3 days. And the doctor now was explaining to my parents that some children, about 5 in Calabar that year, got spinal menengitis, and that I was one of them. But that I was lucky because of the 5 children, 2 died immediately because they were not taken to the hospital on time. One at the end ended up with brain damage. So 2 of us were okay. I don't know where the other one is now, but thank God I was okay. Now, after many years, after my secondary school career, and I had a scholarship, I went to London. Whilst I was doing my A-levels, I used to fall asleep easily. If I start reading within an hour, I would have had enough. I start dozing. So I was worried because for the GCE, I had so many books to read, especially in literature. In mathematics, I was not worried because that I could do without reading anything. But the literature worried me. So the family I was staying with in London took me to the family doctor. And in asking me questions, what I did, have I had fever, have I had headache, have I had this, and discovered that I had meningitis at 14. He was so alarmed and so shocked, he dropped his pen and said, "What? You had meningitis in Africa? What year?" I said, 1946. "And you survived it?" I said, "Yes." So he wanted me to get the name of the doctor who treated me and all that so that he can be in touch with that doctor, because he was really surprised that I survived it. So he now said to me that all I needed was more sleep than most people, that my brain needs a lot of sleep, and that anytime I'm reading and I want to sleep, I should sleep. Because I had asked him to give me something that would keep me awake. So he said, no, you don't need anything to keep you awake. Did you go through your secondary school course? Because you're telling me this was primary school. I said, yes. Did you do okay in your secondary school? I said, more than okay. I used to take the first 2 or 3 places almost every term in class. He said, really? My dear, if you didn't have that meningitis, you would have been a genius. So don't worry, you're going to go through your university career without problem. Just be having enough rest. And that is all you did. And that was what happened.